First things first, we're joined by Villanova head coach, and if I'm being honest, one of our favorite guests, Jay Wright.
Oh, that's nice.
All about being honest, Jay. Thanks, Coach.
Coach giving us a hard time. He said we were hard on our guests and everything.
Well, I saw you giving Jenna some grief with Cooley. About Jenna, that's Jay's guy.
Oh, yeah.
That was rough on my man, Cooley.
If
and
you
Jenna,
were watching yesterday, Providence head coach Ed Cooley was here.
We watch you in the morning. I saw it.
Love that.
Thank you, Coach.
Love that.
You guys are doing well.
What's the offseason been like for you, Coach, since winning the national title, besides getting up, watching 3 hours of our show, and then doing nothing the rest of the day? What's it been like?
Coach been watching
FS1 in the morning. Watch you guys in the morning.
Properly done.
It's been cool this year. It's been calmer. I think we learned a little bit from 16 how to handle a little bit better, not do everything, and we have a lot of new guys, so it's not been as crazy as after 16.
What a great thing to be able to say is, my experience from winning the previous national title has helped me learn how to deal with this one.
Yep.
But that's actually something we talk about in the NFL a lot.
All the time.
About how the team that every year, no matter how successful they were the previous year, it starts off the year fresh as the Patriots.
Yeah, man.
And the one year they didn't was the year after their first championship. They didn't necessarily deal with that the best. The Eagles are dealing with
my Eagles, man. You know, they don't have their offensive coordinator. They don't have their quarterback coach. Nobody talks about that. They lost a lot of good players. They have new players in there. Even with Wentz, he wasn't on that team. I mean, he wasn't playing, you know?
Yes.
There's a lot of change, and the other teams, even though they didn't win the Super Bowl, they have been playing together and they have everybody back. You know, like Los Angeles you were talking about.
Right.
So it's hard, man. It's really hard. And we're that way. We have 5 new guys coming back. You know, we have no juniors, 2 seniors. So it's just different. And as long as you accept that and you can't think in your mind, we are the defending national champions. We're not. Those guys are gone.
But
we're a different team.
The approach has to be the same. Even if you have new guys, the infrastructure is there, right? The game plan, all of it, and the coach, that has to be the same.
It is, but the players win it. Like, you win it because of the players. 4 of those guys are gone. And the 4 of those guys were on 3 of the 4 that went to the NBA were on the 16 national championship team. So those guys had great experience. So we lost a lot of that. Now, what the young guys bring is a fresh approach. You know, they're excited.
Yes.
So that's pretty cool. So you're right, Jenna. The approach is the same, but the players are different, and the players are the ones that win it.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Doug Peterson there, because I think that Doug, got a lot of respect for what he's doing, but I think he is still learning how to be an NFL coach and a championship coach.
Yeah.
Of course. But with winning, we got one coach who has won a couple in you, who said, no, I'm not the champ. Doug Peterson said, I am the champ, and we're trying to defend it. You're both trying to replace a lot of things. Him, as far as coaching, you're trying to replace senior and productivity. Give me some of the intangibles in losing to these NBA guys, things that you have to replace, not just jump shooting. What about mental toughness? What are some of the things for your program that people don't see that you have to replace right now?
Yeah, that's the key, Chris. Like, we had 3 first-round draft choices. Someone said, oh, you had 3 first-round draft choices. The hardest guy to replace is the guy who was a second-round draft choice, Jalen Brunson, who came to practice, came in the locker room 2 hours before practice, had eaten well, was prepared for practice, got on the floor early, knew everything we did, made sure he talked to the young guys when they stepped on the court, told them what to do before practice ever started.
A mini Jay.
He was.
Right?
He was. I miss the other guy. I miss them all. I mean, they're like your sons, but he was the leader, and he was the coach on the floor, truly. So you can't replace that until Phil Booth is starting to take that on, you know, right now, Colin Gillespie, but they haven't done it. Jalen did it on a 16 national championship team, did it in 17 on the #1 team in the country, and then did it on the 18 national championship team.
And they're also, when you have the run you guys had, I'm sure throughout the year, even though you're not talking about it with the players, amongst the coaches, you have a good idea. Of course, you're going to lose your seniors, but you also who might leave early. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm guessing halfway through the year, you didn't think Dante was going to leave early.
No.
I didn't. During the tournament, I didn't think he was going to leave early.
Same with us.
And then he had the unbelievable run throughout the tournament. Great workouts, turned himself into almost a lottery pick, just right outside the lottery. But now all of a sudden, as far as recruiting goes, as far as when you're preparing for this upcoming season, there's a hole you have to fill you weren't expecting to have to fill.
Right. Exactly. We call it roster structuring. So we try to see, you know, we talk to the NBA guys, right? When do you think this guy will come out? When do you think this guy? And we're good, you know. We thought we would have Omari Spellman and Dante for one more year.
Yep.
And even after the Michigan game, they weren't projected first-round picks, either one of them. Now, Jalen and Mikal could have came back for another year. They had another year's eligibility, but they graduated, so we knew they were going. But even when they were going through the process, they were saying to us, like, hey, I love college, man. If I'm not a first-round pick, I'm good. So, but once they started working out and guys saw them, the NBA guys were calling us back saying, hey, I'm going to take this guy in the first round.
People didn't know Dante was such a great athlete.
Right.
Like, I think there was maybe a little stereotyping going, and people saw, and then all of a sudden you saw his measurables. You're like, oh my god.
He was #1 in the combine with vertical jump. As soon as he did that, he measured that. We're like, all right, this is over.
Yeah, Nick saw that one time, and he was instantly in love with it.
You know, Coach, we had you out here last year, and we said, how does the Big East look? And you said it's going to be competitive, it's going to be tough, and then you rolled over everybody and you won the national title. So I'm going to ask you again, because maybe it'll be good luck for you. How does the Big East look this year?
Well, but we didn't win the regular season championship.
No, you didn't.
And we were picked preseason #1. Now, it'll be interesting to see where we come out today, because I think we're a young team. But we were picked #1. Xavier won the regular season championship. And then we won the Big East championship at Madison Square Garden in an overtime game against Providence that we could easily lost it. Providence was, at that point, just as good as us. And that proves when you go into the NCAA tournament, it's about matchups, how you're playing. So I look at it like, we went through the NCAA tournament. We won, I think, every game by double figures, and we won the Big East championship game in overtime by 1. That tells you enough about the Big East. I think it's going to be the same this year. I think we have a lot more balance. We don't have as much star power early going into the season, but I think by the end of the year, you're going to see some great players emerge.
Coach, we have another great friend of the show in Tom Izzo, and his team a lot like yours, because championship pedigree, there's a great deal of respect. Even with you losing all these players to the NBA, they still have you ranked in the top 10. I know you're like, listen, these are young kids and everything. Where do you think, what is the potential for this roster, Jay? Honestly.
No, you're right, Chris. I get it. You know, we're top 10 per season. I think that's based on our past. All right? That's based on, I think, people saying, okay, they will develop during the year. Now, we got to do that, right? I think we have two of the best players in college basketball in Phil Booth and Eric Paschall. Those two, you know, Phil Booth played in 2 national championship games. There's not a lot of guys in college basketball that do that. And Eric Paschall, you know, NBA guys are saying is a projected first-round pick. So we got 2 great players. Now, we have no juniors. Our sophomore class, we got to develop. Our freshmen, we have to develop. But by the end, we could be a team that contends for a Big East championship by the end.
You guys, I'm sorry to interrupt.
It's going to have to be, we're going to have to grow into that one this year. We're not starting that way.
Well, you guys are in a very unique position amongst programs that are now like the new age blue bloods. Like, I understand, like Kansas, Kentucky, UCLA, but old North Carolina, but you win 2 titles in 3 years, have the success you guys have, you're in that echelon. But you guys are not a one-and-done factory, the way some of these other, where it says, okay, who's the top 10 players are going to Kentucky, Carolina, Duke. And so because of that, you have the ability to have a guy like Phil Booth.
Right.
You have the ability to have a guy like Eric Paschall, where you have quality seniors. I watched Frank Mason at Kansas. Like, he was not going to be, he was always going to be a fringe NBA guy because of his height. But what that also means is he's going to play 4 years of college basketball, and by his senior year, he's a grown-up, and he's playing against kids like that. That, along with your experience, I think even if you don't have the talent of the previous year's roster, that gives you guys an enormous edge against some. I mean, you guys play Kansas this year. You play Michigan in the national championship rematch. That gives you guys an edge some of the other prestige programs don't have, right?
Yeah, I hope so. I do. We count on that. That's why I talked about our roster structuring. We try to figure out, you know, when will this guy, if they leave early, like this year, Dante and Omari left a year earlier than we thought. That's a good thing. Good for them. Good for them, good for us. We won a championship because they were so good. But we try to cover for that, and we kind of got, they went a little early and we weren't prepared because we have no juniors, right? So our sophomores were guys that we didn't think were going to have to step up till next year. But that's all right. That's a good problem to have. So if our sophomore class can play a little older, Demir Cosby, Roundtree, Colin Gillespie, Jermaine Samuels, Dylan Painter, that would get us by the end of the year to be an old team again, and we got a shot to be good.
Coach, I know you spend 3 hours watching the show, then you spend another probably 4 hours game planning for your day and for the team and all of it. But how far and how deep do you start following your old players into the NBA? Do you watch them? Do you follow what they're doing? Are you still in touch with them? Anyone in particular?
Yeah, we do. And even in the preseason, we're watching preseason games. I'm tweeting about, somebody got a lot of men, which is crazy. I know people got to be saying, like, this is preseason. This doesn't matter. I follow them all the time. Like last night, I saw that Josh Hart was playing against Mikal Bridges.
Oh,
yeah, he got the start, and they got the win.
Yeah.
And he said something before the game about going at Mikal, and it just cracked me up because
Did it take you back to your gym?
it did, because those two used to kill each other in practice, and Mikal was the young boy and Josh was the old boy, and he would physically, if Mikal would embarrass him, which he would sometimes, he would physically go after him on the next play. We'd watch him. Like, oh, Josh is going to chase him down.
Right.
He's going to chase him down. So to see them go at it now, Omari Spellman played against Jalen Brunson last night.
Yeah.
And they send us pictures, like they'll take pictures before the game, and we love that stuff. We love them staying tight.
All your guys are on team. Now, listen, I'm an NBA nerd, so I find almost every team interesting.
Coach, everything he does is nerdy.
Okay.
So
That's why we have
He's
you on the show.
translating for it.
That's why we got you to balance them out, man.
But if I'm looking at your guys drafted in the last 5 years, they're all on interesting teams. You mentioned Mikal, who was drafted by Philly and then immediately traded to Phoenix. He's on a team with the #1 pick of the draft. He's on a team that is got a bunch of young talent but doesn't know who they are. Dante's on a team with maybe the most fun player in the league to watch in Giannis. Guys like that don't go to college. Like they don't exist in college basketball. Like the athletic raw freak that is. Embiid did, but kind of.
Half a year.
When you watch a guy like Giannis, what are you seeing as a coach?
Man, well, as a coach, you're saying, I'd love to have that guy because not his length and ability is incredible, but when you listen to him talk, he's so humble and coachable. You had a great line earlier in the show when you said, I tell my young guys to give up their talent, submit your talent to the coach.
To that coach.
There's not a lot of guys that do that, as you know, a lot of great ones. They think, all right, I got a lot of talent. The coach has to deal with me. Giannis looks like he's improving every year. He's getting better and better, and I think he's going to get a consistent three-point shot soon, and it's going to be over. That dude's incredible.
He'll be the best player. If that happens, he'll be the best player in the league. Amari's on a team with Trae Young, Jalen's with Doncic, but Josh Hart, you know him. If he stays in that starting lineup, he's entering the crucible now. Those Laker games are going to be dissected every single night on every show. How equipped do you think he is for that?
He is the...
Out of all your guys, he the best guy to run with LeBron with that scrutiny?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because he has incredible confidence. He is the best competitor. As you know, all great players, he's right on that edge of being too competitive. Like, he's the only guy in practice sometimes I have to discipline because he was too competitive. I talk about going after, like if Mikal blocked his shot and was going on a breakaway, I was afraid he was going to take out Mikal on the play, physically.
That's how I do.
So, but that's what, when you play in pro sports, I mean, that's what it is. I mean,
Absolutely.
Those guys are killers. And Josh has that, but off the court, greatest kid in the world.
Awesome.
Coach, thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Always good seeing you guys.
Much appreciated. A lot of fun.
Coach, is this new? I mean, you won national championship. Somebody just still dressing
I knew you were going to
I'm
say
sure
that.
they made you up a couple new ones for the season.
We got a couple new ones coming.
Much
This is
more
the old
first things
version.
first
This is
right
the
after
old
this.
version.